Alright, quick update on Kadena, ticker symbol KDA. So, it's not looking too hot in the short to mid-term. A lot of our momentum indicators and oscillators in the lower time frames and the higher time frames are all calling for the fact that this little bounce that we've had over the past couple of days is over. We've solidified. If we head over to our regular chart, this is basically as clean and simple as it gets on this channel. But nonetheless, we have had a very tiny bounce. You know, a few people got out of bed from this, from $1.46 back up to $1.60. Once again, solidifying another lower high all over the board. And we can zoom out. We've been talking about this for a while. If you're a seasoned veteran to my channel, you know that I've been saying this for basically every KDA video. I started covering this at 650. I've been telling you the trend is your friend until the end. While we're stuck beneath these daily EMA ribbons, nothing has changed, and nothing has changed in the higher time frames. You can still see since our last video when we were calling for this breakdown at $1.76, even in our prediction from over here, $1.94 is when we really started talking about $1 price targets. Once again, if you're a seasoned veteran, you know that I've been talking about $1, 90 cent and 80 cent for quite a long period of time right now. So higher time frames unchanged. Every single time we come into these daily EMA ribbons, we solidify a lower high and break back down to the downside. So I don't want to talk about the higher time frames, but what is happening in the lower time frames? Daily time frame, squeeze bomb is still heading to the downside after our most recent dead cat bounce. If we do head over to the lower time frames and look at our oscillators, you can see since this most recent bounce from 145 up to about 160, we had about 4 hours worth of bullish momentum step in, and then we just completely capitulated. Like, we've completely run out of steam. If we look at the squeeze bomb on the 4-hourly time frame, you can see that this is getting ready to flip bearish anytime soon. And if we do zoom in on this slightly more plain chart, looking at the EMA ribbons, you can once again see, you know, just like when we were getting stuck underneath the 4-hourly EMAs here, it's interesting because every now and then you have a fake out of the EMA ribbons on the 4-hour, head up to the daily EMAs, get slapped back down. Here we did it as well. You know, we flipped bullish very quickly on the 4-hourly time frame. It was a fake out. We headed into the daily EMA ribbons, got rejected, broke back down, and subsequently flipped below the 4-hourly EMAs. Now the 4-hourly EMAs are the shorter term moving averages that we need to focus on getting above. Now, I really don't want to focus on, you know, shoving hopium and moonboy hopium down your throat. It really doesn't matter if we get above these 4-hourly EMAs, if I'm completely honest. 155 would be the 4-hourly EMA breakup, but nonetheless, as you can see on the 4-hourly, on the daily time frame rather, absolutely nothing would have changed. Oops, we're on the weekly. Yeah, nothing would have changed. We can even see ourselves coming back up to, you know, 162, 163 again, and this would still be a lower high. So once again, since our most recent prediction, we've really been calling for 80 cent for a while now. 55%, even after the most recent bounce, we're still down about 14% since this prediction. So very nice. Lower time frames, we talked about the squeeze bomb. This had a very short-lived move, and as you can see over on the squeeze bomb, we are just riddled with lower highs. If I just draw from here, I mean, I'm sure you can see this was a massive high up here, but every single time we have these big swings to the upside, they get weaker and weaker and weaker every single time. We've more or less just been crabbing sideways since we came down here at 133. So 133, this is going to be a massive level, and I think this is your next point of control. I believe we're going to be magnetized to 133, 134, and then we're going to break beneath and head very quickly to my macro price predictions down here between $1 and 80 cents. So as always, on the 4-hourly time frame, looking at the money flow indicator, you can see this came up very fast from 18, or this was 19 rather, all the way up to 80, which is the extremely overbought region. What happens every single time you come up to 80, breakdown, 80, breakdown, 80, breakdown, 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 breakdown. And what do I think is going to happen now? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Retail ran in very quickly to buy this dip up for Kadena, but as you can see on the 4-hourly, it looks like it's topped. If there is more money to flow into the market, it is not going to flow in for long. On the daily time frame, you're very unlikely to see a break or a macro break above the 25 EMA, which is currently residing at 167. Once again, even if we do, this is going to be solidifying another lower high from the last retest we had at 186 from the daily EMA ribbon. So all signs point for one final capitulation left on Kadena. Even when we look at the MACD, you can see it actually looks like it's about to flip bullish for a very, very quick moment. Like, this might flip bullish for a day or maybe 8 to 12 hours. But once again, market structure's unchanged, lower highs all over the board, and I think we're getting ready to absolutely flop to the downside. It's a bit tricky looking at this on the 4-hourly because momentum has been relatively stagnant, and looking at these is really only good for scalping over on the 4-hourly EMAs. But you can see over on the daily time frame for the MACD, it looks like we're getting ready to flip bearish. I mean, we're literally hugging this moving average right here. We're probably going to break down in the next couple of days or so. You're seeing absolutely no momentum, no support step in as we are bouncing. The money flow indicator is very, very overextended right now. It seems like a lot of retail has been buying the dip on Kadena. Subsequently, we are back up here, basically at the heart line at 56. We came up very, very sharply over on the money flow index as well. And also daily time frames, you're seeing the squeeze bomb head down. So pairing all of this together, looking at the oscillators, they are not really looking too hot right now. Not a lot of momentum coming in on the lower time frames either. On the 1-hourly time frame, these are very, very flat and stagnant. I really don't like looking at the 1 hour either. I much rather focus on 4-hourly, daily, weekly. But like I said, since my most recent video where we were calling for this $1 Kadena, macro time frame, there's really nothing to update about. You know, the prediction has been panning out just like we've been saying. We've just been slowly trickling to the downside, and I think we're getting ready for that next leg back down. I honestly think $1 is probably going to be in play within the next month. I would not be surprised if $1 is in play within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I would also like to highlight, in the next month, I think it's within the next 28 days approximately, we have more CPI reports. We have the next FOMC meeting. So we're going to have an update on the interest rates. If once again the interest rates are raised, you will know, if you're a seasoned veteran to my channel, you will know the effect of the markets on that. I have shared this over on my Twitter because we did have a FOMC minute meeting today. And basically every single time, these were for the major FOMC meetings, the Federal Reserve meetups, but nonetheless, we basically pump into the meetings and get rug pulled, pump into the meetings, get rug pulled, and I imagine the same is going to play out today. If we do not, if we are going to bounce, let me just say this, if we are going to bounce for Kadena, it's going to be today. If we do not bounce today, we're going to break down tomorrow. If we break down today, we're probably going to break down tomorrow. It doesn't matter what we do today. I'm here to tell you that within the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm going to be expecting a big flush to the downside for the crypto markets. You know, not just looking at the technicals for Kadena and all of this. I mean, I like to look at the stock market, the dollar as well. The dollar is on a massive rampage, and you might be thinking, well, this is only the daily time frame. We're breaking out from this tiny cup and handle pattern. You know, this might look bullish in the short term, but we might just come up to 107 and break down, right? Well, let's zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. What's the dollar doing on the higher time frames? Let's head over to the weekly. Yeah, this is a weekly pattern. This has been panning out since the March 2020 pandemic scare. We've been in a huge cup and handle pattern, and we are now bursting to the upside. I would really like to emphasize the dollar is king right now. The stock market is getting absolutely slaughtered, and subsequently, I do believe when the dollar goes up for its final move to the upside, which I think is going to be around about 111, Bitcoin's going to have its final capitulation. And don't get me wrong, Kadena can bounce in the next day, which is why I'm really saying if we are going to bounce, it really has to be today. Because if Bitcoin bounces, we're going to find resistance at 21,000. If we don't get above 21,000, or if we do get above 21,000 rather, we have our most major 618 Fibonacci right here at 21,150. And then if we have a failed move up to the 618, get rejected, we would have had a failed move outside this asymmetrical triangle slash bearish pennant. If we zoom out, you can see this is a bearish pennant. And as I always say, a failed move equals a fast move in the opposite direction. This is when I think the final capitulation is going to be happening for Bitcoin. I think 16,500 to 14,000 is absolutely in play for Bitcoin, and subsequently, once again, what does this mean for Kadena? In my opinion, as I've been saying for the past couple of months, $1 is absolutely in play. I really think this is going to come a lot quicker than most people are expecting, but I also think 90 cent is in play, and I also think 80 cent is in play. Once again, if you're a seasoned veteran to my channel, you might have been hearing me say 80 cents since like $3.50 and thinking that's a bearish price target, but we're really getting close to this price target right now. I mean, we're really only about 47% of the way away from it, and considering Kadena's a relatively nascent project, I definitely don't think I'm being too bearish by saying this. People thought I was being too bearish on Kadena when I was telling you the trend is your friend at 650 and not to buy. So if you are a veteran to my channel, if you have been looking at these updates, you've probably done quite well if you have been sitting on the sidelines. If you are new to the channel and you are hearing me say that your favorite altcoin Kadena is going down to 80 cent and you think I'm fudding or I hate the project, I do not hate Kadena. I have read the white paper. I am interested in buying this, which is why I do cover it. If you read the white paper, they've got a very, very interesting network consensus, which is like a green proof of work amalgamation, kind of like the Algorand blockchain, but Algorand's on proof of stake. It's almost like a carbon negative blockchain. So I really do think Kadena is going to be a good project. I do think it is going to be a good buy coming into the next bull run. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. Don't think that I'm just bashing Kadena's bulls and I'm saying it's a shitcoin, it's going to zero. I'm absolutely not saying that. I've just been looking at these charts objectively since 650. I've been on the sidelines since 650. And if you've been buying the dip down from 650, if you've been listening to these crazy YouTubers since like $20 and $30 that have just been religiously telling you to buy, then they've probably made you their exit liquidity and they're probably just running off with they're probably just pumping their own bags. But nonetheless, looking at this objectively, which is the best way to go about it, nothing's changed. Switch over to the weekly time frame, clear up the chart, head over to the Heikonashis. What has changed? We've been in a Heikonashi weekly downtrend for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks worth of getting beaten to the downside. And once again, I'm not saying that Kadena is going to zero. I'm not saying this is going to completely capitulate, but I have been saying 80 cent is on the table. This is where I'm going to start getting interested in DCAing and picking up some Kadena. I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to set buy orders down here. I want to make sure that when we do get down to these price targets, I'm going to remain malleable because, like I said, in the next month, we've got all sorts of things coming in: CPI, GDP growth reports, the FOMC meetings. In the next month, if GDP is negative in the US, we're going to be in a recession. So if that happens, 80 cent might not be the most bearish price target I can pull from. So we'll see how it plays out in the next month, in the next couple of weeks, the next time we have a big move, or whenever we start doing something. Like I said, lower time frames. This is why I'm updating you today. They are heading down. The money has basically topped out in this market in the lower time frames. People ran into this way too quick, and the strength of the oscillators is absolutely diminishing. I do think KDA is about to head down to the downside. So wrapping up this video, we've talked about everything we need to talk about. As I was on Twitter anyway, and as I did reference this chart over here, if you do want to keep up to date with some of these charts and everything that I post, basically everything you need to know about my channel is here over on Twitter. But if you do want to follow me on Twitter, it is here at 618_cowboy. Anyway, my friends, that is all I've got for you today. I will be letting you know as soon as I see anything change over on Kadena. But right now, the trend is your friend until the end, and the trend is still bearish. So what I've got for you today, as always, cowboy out. Peace.